From Los Angeles, California, this is Brett Gaffney. Welcome back to A Word Before We Leave. I'm going to have to be honest, this interview is a little old. It's actually from the month of July, but personal things got in the way of life, and here we are, and we are back with the show. There's going to be a part where I say it's season 2. It's actually season 3, so asterisk next to what I say later on in the interview. But today's guest is Jack Schudy. Jack Schudy is amazing. He's from Kansas, just like me, and he lives in LA, just like me. And Jack and I just have a conversation, and we recollect over Jack's life and experience that brought him to the point where we're at today. Jack made a movie in Los Angeles. I played one of the characters in that movie. His name is JJ, and the movie's called QLC. It's not out yet, but Jack's working on it. And so that is kind of what brought Jack and I together and got this interview done. I'm telling you guys, this episode is fantastic, so I'm just going to let it be what it is. But for those of you watching, I am doing a little giveaway. I have all of these stickers of the podcast logo designed by Courtney Shaw, and I am giving some of these away. Not all of them, but some of them. So if you DM the podcast Instagram account, which is at A Word Before We Leave, I will give you a sticker. I'm going to give it away to the first 10 people that DM the account and say sticker in big captions. And then I'm going to ask for your address and I'll mail it to you. And if you're in Los Angeles, I will deliver it by hand to you if you want one. I think these things are great. Shout out to Courtney for making the brand new logo for the show. Welcome back to season 3. Let's get the ball rolling. Interview in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Jack Schudy, and you're listening and watching A Word Before We Leave.
And I'm Brett Gaffney. Today we are coming from West Hollywood?
West Hollywood.
Off of San Vicente at Jack's new apartment. It has 2 decks. It literally has 2 decks. I'm not kidding. This is deck number 1 or 2.
This is the coffee deck,
This
and
is
the other one
deck.
is the beer deck. That's how we separate them.
The beer deck. I like the beer deck.
Beer deck's just behind camera.
Well, regardless, now that we are on the coffee deck and the beer deck is behind camera, you guys are gonna hear a lot of sounds. You're gonna hear a lot of car sounds. You might hear an acorn or a berry hit the ceiling above us. You may even see some squirrels driving by. But that is a part of Jack's new space. Jack may not be fully used to it, but we will get used to it with him. Jack,
yes.
We are now going to dive into the show. Would you like us to start off with our classic segment, A Word of the Day?
I think that would be best.
Let's do it. All right, so today's Word of the Day is brought to you by Merriam-Webster's Dictionary. It is not sponsored, and it will be one day, but not today. And today's Word of the Day is coterie, Coterie, and the definition is, coterie refers to an intimate and often exclusive group of people with a unifying common interest or purpose. And their example sentence is, the mayor arrived at the meeting with a coterie of advisors. Now, Jack, all you have to do is come up with a sentence, and then I'll come up with a sentence.
I was already sort of thinking of one. I knew that was coming, but the only thing I was thinking was like how a film crew is sort of like a coterie.
It really is.
But to put it in like a more interesting sentence is like, it had been years since I gathered the coterie, but Lord knows we have to unite now.
Yeah. Lord knows. Only God knows. God only knows. Was that Beach Boys?
Mm-hmm.
Good song.
Featured in BioShock Infinite also.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it is.
For what reason? Is it
It's
BioShock
actually
Infinite, like, in the past, technically?
It is. That's a story-based reason, because they have these time-space tears, so sometimes music from the future slips through and plays into the world.
In.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right, and my example sentence will be, the king and his coterie of advisors helped sway the kingdom to a more unified existence.
Oh. How'd you manage that?
I was really reaching.
We need ourselves a coterie around here.
Yeah, we do need a coterie. The two of us filling the coffee deck with other coffee sippers, like a live studio audience.
Yeah.
That could be our coterie.
Yeah.
But you can only be invited if you pay.
Right. It does cost a lot of money.
It costs a lot, like thousands.
Well, yeah.
Millions of dollars to watch this podcast in person.
I mean, what else would it cost? I feel like you'd feel like you were getting away with something if you paid less than that.
Yeah, you guys online are getting the show for free, which is amazing because you're not a part of our coterie. Oh, that's a better one.
That's more in context. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did a better job there the second time.
It's all about the warm up, the practice sentence, you know.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to start the show because, like, have you ever had someone who just
Flubbed it?
Yeah, like couldn't.
I feel like I just flubbed it.
Well, not even flubbed it. Like didn't understand the use of the word and like had to have it.
Yeah, there
broken
was
down a little bit.
I think it was episode 24, 23 with Israel Isaac, and the word was qua, like Q-U-A.
I can see why that would be confusing.
And qua is like referring to essentially like the stereotype of a public figure. And so we didn't know how to like really use it in a sense because it's usually you say like,
oh, that's interesting.
The singer, qua singer, you have to like repeat the title, but then like understand the fundamental humanity of it. It was really hard. Even I was stumped. I was
that's
like,
weird.
What the hell is qua?
That's tough. That's a good word of the day though.
Thank you.
I don't think
thank
I've
you. Never heard it. Exactly.
heard that. Yeah.
So that's coterie and word of the day, and now we're gonna dive straight into the questions. Waste no time. Jack Schudy will go from past, present, and future, and then at the end of it, I will ask you the final question, which entails essentially who are you as a person and what do you want to say to the world before you die. But to build up to that, what gets you out of bed every single day?
Ooh, what gets me out of bed every single day? More immediately, it's been a lot of work that I like find exciting. So it's not getting up because I have to, but getting up because I can. But like, I guess if we want to go broad, what gets me up in the morning? Just like the hope that today could be better than yesterday. I don't know. I think I'm mostly motivated by like the chance of something happening, something new, something like memorable. Like even if I don't have plans or don't have anything like set up or on schedule, I like to wake up thinking like, well, this could be the day where something happens.
Yeah.
That like you don't forget or that you can't. Hopefully because it's good. But yeah, just kind of maybe like dangerously optimistic look at what the day could have, and that's I think what gets me out.
Jack, for the people that don't know who you are, how would you describe yourself in like 3 to 4 sentences?
3 to 4. My name is Jack Schudy. I'm from Kansas.
Me too.
Yes. I live in Los Angeles now.
Me too.
And I want to write and direct films.
I just totally let one out. I was hoping to be quiet.
That was the period at the end of my 4th sentence.
Me farting. I don't even know if the mic picked it up, so everyone on camera is just going to see me like silently scooch over and then back.
It wasn't silent in real life, guys.
Oh, it's stinky too. Stinky.
There's traffic passing and we can still hear it.
I think it's the first time I farted on the podcast ever.
I'm happy I got to be part of that moment in the podcast history.
This is going to be a funnier episode, I can already tell.
Yeah, there's an energy to sitting outside. Have you done one outside yet?
I've done a few outside. I've done 4 or 5 outside. So whenever I get the chance to be outside, it excites me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's like it's just different. I feel like the outside episodes always bring an energy that is completely unique and individual to the person. Jack, you talk about moving from Kansas. So let's talk about Kansas for a second. What was growing up in Kansas like, and what inspired filmmaking and directing that you can recall?
Yeah, so growing up in Kansas for me was really good. I love Kansas. I loved living there. I had a great circle of friends. I had a great circle of family members. It wasn't a big family in Kansas. There's not like too many Schudys in general, but like it was all pretty close. And I just couldn't remember like not ever wanting to do anything but producing, videos and little movies and things you know, acting in things, shooting things, writing things like that. Somewhere in there was always where my interest lied. I didn't know that it was going to be directing for like the longest time. I did a bunch of they were like little summer camps where you would make like a short film at like the nearby high school for the summer. And like I never directed in any of those. I would like sort of come up with an idea for a scene and then like maybe act in it and maybe like hold a mic or something. Basically like I was just trying to try everything in Kansas. And once I had tried everything, I was like, oh, okay, I think directing's where I belong, but I can't do that here maybe.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Midwest isn't like, there is opportunity if you really look for it, but it's not going to be the opportunity that could change your life. Like they're just, at some point you have to go to a market, like a bigger market at least.
Yeah, market. That's a good way of saying it.
And I feel like there's a few markets in the U.S. when it comes to entertainment, such as Atlanta, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles being the biggest one in my opinion, for film specifically. So
at least right now.
I mean, it's been a weird few years in LA, but the pendulum swings both ways. It's gonna rebound. It has to.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was some of those early films and movies as a kid that you really liked, really were drawn to?
It's weird. I like really grew up on horror, but I haven't really done a lot creatively with horror. I think like one of the earliest movies I can remember being super, super into was Raiders of the Lost Ark because of how horrific the ending is.
It's terrifying.
Like that is what made me click. Like I liked watching it as a kid. There's a lot of stuff that went over my head, obviously, but like the thing that now I watch in the same way as I did as a kid is that ending. And a lot of horrors like that where, sure, there's like all these subtexts and things that go over, but there is just like an atmosphere that I always like kind of clicked with. Even in like music and books, like I always just kind of was attracted to the atmosphere of dread and what characters are like when they're in situations where they can't control their fates anymore and there's like bigger things at play. I really like movies that are hyper realistic and take place in this world also. But I think as a kid, like from kid to now, the thing that's permeated it has always been like kind of more horror or thriller elements and things like, I don't know, Silence of the Lambs, Poltergeist, Jaws, things that like aren't maybe necessarily scary also, but have like scary scenes. Like Teen Titans was my favorite show growing up.
Great show.
And there are like 2 horror themed episodes in all of Teen Titans.
The Japan episodes?
No, it's like there's one, oh, it's such a great episode even today. It's Slade, like the main villain of the show, has been defeated for an entire season. Killed, but they won't say killed because like
it's a kid's show.
Kid show. But they kept his mask. Slade's mask was recovered in that fight, and Robin is like convinced that he's still seeing Slade. And it's because there was like a toxin in the mask that like it like was a hallucinogenic that like made him see Slade, and the rest of the Teen Titans are like watching him just like destroy himself in this pursuit of a ghost, basically. And I was like, that is like really scary. Like for a kid, like an unbeatable villain in your brain, like the idea of that is so scary. So that was always like my favorite Teen Titans episode, and I just found myself liking things that were like that, even if like the genre it was in wasn't horror, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
What do you think is a story that hasn't been told that you think could be done very well now? Maybe it's an idea you've thought about. Maybe it's a film that you want to make yourself. But what's a story that you feel like hasn't fully been tackled that needs to be done?
I didn't grow up loving Westerns. I wasn't like a Westerns guy, but I've kind of like always had the thought in my mind of how well a horror Western could do. Like a story about taking a trail less followed to get across, you know, some dangerous, like treacherous terrain in a shorter amount of time, and they encounter something there that, like, you know, humans today have never even heard of because it, went extinct, but it's just like an animal or some being that,
Like a beast.
yeah, a beast that lived in the Western United States before it was conquered by humans, and like taking all these Western elements of like the man with no name, all these people who come together for one common goal, which is just like, I have to get from here to there as fast as possible and without dying.
Yeah.
And then like put them in a situation that is like unimaginably terrifying, where there's no support. You can't call the cops. You can't, like all those save the day tropes in horror movies where it's like, okay, well, we can get the priest, or we can get guns, or we can get, like all those things get taken away if you take humanity back to like, the turn of the century, 1899, where there were versions of those things, but not to the extent, and definitely not in the undiscovered West,
Like all they have is themselves and their ability to adapt to the environment that they're in.
Yeah, it's almost like, it almost becomes like a fantasy plot line.
Yeah.
It's like these group of travelers are being terrorized by something that they can't understand, and they have nowhere to turn because they're in uncolonized space. Like,
it's like they're in the beast's like ground. Like that's where the beast is from. The beast knows everything.
Yeah.
And they know nothing.
Yeah, and it's like, we eventually win, but maybe this group doesn't,
Interesting. That's an interesting way to put that. What is, when it comes to storytelling, something important for characters to go through, in your opinion?
Something important. I think all characters need to have one, like, very set in stone, clear connection to the audience moment. I don't think all characters can have the same or even similar ones. But, like, if a character can make you laugh early on, that's, like, a connection moment. If a character, like, if you see them going through something that you've experienced, like, that can be a connection moment. Obviously, it's, like, really hard to write for an audience you don't know. But there will always be, that's kind of, like, the point of the audience.
Yeah.
Like, there will always be someone in that crowd who can connect to this thing. And, like, shooting general, like, if you have a character that has, like, a parent who's died, it's like, okay, well, everyone is going to experience that at some point.
Yeah.
You can go wide, you can go broad and still really pay off that way. But if you write for like 5 people in the audience, like they're going to get it stronger than like the broad spectrum would feel, that like that more average experience plot point. I think that like finding something niche, it's not like necessary, but I think it really like propels at least that character, maybe not the rest of the story, like unless you really intertwine it, but that character can become somebody's favorite now because they have this niche experience, not just because they're the cool, funny guy.
Yeah.
I think that's like a way to take characters off the paper before like an actor even has a chance to do that themselves. It's just like give them this really subtle thing to look for in this really, really niche experience that created it. Like I hate to bring up...
Please. At some point, we're going to have to. There's no reason to tiptoe around what QLC is.
Brett and I made a film.
That's me. I am the guy.
Like, basically the last 8 months of our lives were spent sort of in this
Grueling.
process.
It was really fun.
It was a 20-day shoot, but we had, like, 3 months of prep before that, and then, like, now we're in post, so it's just keeps going. But in that, Brett played a character who experienced what can be like broken down in a general sense as like bearing witness to death, but his niche sense is like bearing witness to a death that he could have stopped.
Yeah.
And like hopefully there's not a lot of people in the audience who've experienced that.
No, I feel like JJ's, the way people can relate to JJ, my character in the movie, is probably going to be explored more through his anxieties and through the past he doesn't address, more so than the actual thing he went through,
Yeah. And it's creating the niche answer of, it was this bathroom where this thing happened.
Yeah.
And then having the application be, it's this regrettable thing that he doesn't talk about, and it's
then we throw him in crazy given circumstances, and he has to adapt through multiple scenarios that are insane.
Yeah. And sometimes they puncture that wound, and sometimes he's able to avoid it. But like he learns something through it that he can't just close off forever, because that's not what he believes in, and he's letting like, you know, time pass in a way that he regrets. But yeah, that, I guess, like, it goes back to your prior question, just that, like, that for me is a perfect example of the kind of character I like to write, in that, like, there is this broader application of what he is like, this, like, anxiousness about something that happened that he doesn't talk about. Like, that in general is applicable to a lot of people, but then there's also this next level of, like, it's about death, and it's about being, you know, standing between someone and what brought them down, and, like, not feeling like you did enough to stop it. That's a whole different thing than...
I know you... So Jack writes most of his movies, if not all of the things that he's directed. So what... When it comes to writing, do you think you write more for yourself or more for other people?
I think I'm kind of in a bit of a transitional period, maybe, in that sense. QLC was written for myself. I was like, this is something that I'm writing because I want to make it, and, like, maybe not everyone's going to get these characters or this plot structure, but I, like, just have a vision and I see it working, and I, like, see raw entertainment value in this kind of
You're like,
scenario.
I have to do this.
Yeah, but I've written things where I'm like, this is for a market. This is something that I want to be really marketable, that maybe someone else could direct, that, like, doesn't need my understanding of it for it to work. Mm-hmm. Not to say that someone else couldn't direct QLC. I mean, it's not that, like, it's not
it's
that much a product of me,
yeah.
but, like, I have written things that are more...
It's an LA adventure movie, really.
Yeah, individualized for myself, and that one's kind of, like, in the median space, maybe. But nowadays, I feel like I'm writing more... Like, since QLC was written, I finished that script about a year ago now. Since that, I've been working on pilots, writing more, like, episodic things, and I think that I've kind of tried to stay more aware of what audiences are interested in, you know? Because if you're not writing for the audience, that's great and power to you, but you are trying to do this for a living, and, like, you need other people to see that this is something that can work.
You can't only be an artist when it comes to working in the film industry, which is sad, but there are studio executives that have to end up giving you the green light, and that green light comes with the paycheck. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah.
And you can work at it to find a way that you get both sides. You get your end and their end, and
I hear her.
Oh, you do? Well, yeah, that's my cat, everyone.
We feature animals on the podcast all the time.
That's Cassian and/or Schudy. She's inside right now. But yeah, like, I think that's maybe what I've been doing, is trying to write things where I feel like I'm giving my whole left hand is there, handing it off to somebody's right hand, and, like,
it clasps firmly.
It's clasping firmly instead of, like, this guy's giving me knucks and I'm, like, going in with the high five. You know,
turkey.
Like, yeah. I'm not cutting the turkey. I'm trying to find a meeting point between general audience interest and what I think is
creatively interesting,
the most important part. Yeah.
I think it's now perfect time for a segment I like to call Wordplay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a little game. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to count down from 3, and then we're going to try to get to the same word.
Of course.
Pretty simple stuff. We played this a lot behind the scenes on set for QLC.
This was a sanity game.
A sanity game. It helps us keep sane.
Yeah. Somehow this is what helped us keep sane. This, like, nuts word game, yeah.
So the rules are simple. Nothing that we can see in the room, technically. We're not really in a room. We're on deck 1, coffee deck.
Right.
No repeating words that you've already said. Try to avoid names and only focus on the round we just did. Don't get caught up in 8 rounds we did, you know. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about the first round. Worry about the present round.
Okay. I can do that.
I'm thinking of a word. I got a word.
Okay, I'm good.
3, 2, 1.
Strawberry.
Oh.
Okay.
Sarsaparilla and strawberry.
Okay.
I got a word.
3, 2, 1.
Soda.
Boot.
Soda and boot.
Okay.
Soda and boot. I got a word.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Rodeo.
Okay.
We're getting close.
Bar and rodeo. I got a word.
Yeah, me too.
3, 2, 1.
Saloon.
Oh, bull and saloon. Bull and saloon. I got a word. Bull and saloon.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Cowboy.
Oh, yeah,
Let's
nice.
go. We're both like cowboy.
I kind of thought I knew where it was going, but I was also like, this could be like totally in the wrong direction.
No, I was feeling cowboy. I was feeling it. That was wordplay. 5 words. Charlie and I, in the last episode, we went for like 10 minutes.
Couldn't get there?
Couldn't get there.
What was the word? Do you remember? That finally united you guys?
What?
Or I guess, do you remember where you started?
I don't know. It went so long. No offense, Charlie. I know you're watching this. I know you love Jack.
What are like 2 words that were super far away from each other at one point of or the other of the game, though? Like, just
God, I feel like
how far did you guys go to each side?
I feel like I said cathedral, and he said candelabra, and I was like, great. I'm gonna say the Pope. It's gonna be obvious.
Yeah.
And then he said something totally unrelated to the church, and I was like, well, now we're out
Now
of
we're
that.
off, yeah.
We're out of that.
Let's try for a different circle now. Yeah. That's the fun of the game is the adapting to the like completely different takes on everything.
You immediately have to be like, well, my mind did not go that direction.
This guy has a different brain than
take
me.
it back. Take it back.
Yeah.
Jack Schudy, what is your thoughts on Los Angeles?
And okay, my thoughts on Los Angeles. Well, it's really different from Kansas.
I think so.
And I've had a really nice time here so far. I think it's hard to think of it objectively. Like, I feel like I run into so many people who are like, how are you having like
a good time?
Like, how are you like enjoying it? And I'm like,
how are you not?
Yeah, isn't it just like coming natural? Like, I don't. Okay, we moved in the summer of 2021, August of 2021, when things were still like kind of lockdownish, but not like
rough.
As harsh as maybe it was like the summer before. But it was still like, okay, things are different. This is the town in a way that it's never been before. So I'm like kind of learning LA while the Angelinos are learning LA, you know, which I think might have kind of helped me. But if I'm trying to think of,
because it's like the city got like a restart essentially.
Yeah, like when I went downtown for the first time, there was like nobody down there. Like in
I work
September
downtown now.
of
Now there's like people down there.
Yeah, it's a downtown again.
Yeah.
Well,
it's making a comeback. It's still.
Yeah, from
it
what
could
I've
be better,
seen.
but it's not as bad as it was.
There's like, you know, there's a reason to go downtown now. Things are open again. But in the areas I've lived, which is Hollywood, East Hollywood, North Hollywood, and now West Hollywood, I think that
I just did like a dramatic look to the
that.
camera, being like, "This dude has been in Hollywood."
Yeah, I have, but I've been everywhere. I just haven't lived everywhere. But I liked the places that I lived so far, and like, there's just always been something new to do and new to try. And everyone that I meet is, maybe not everyone, most people that I meet are just like really interested in what you're doing, because like the assumption is just that everyone's doing something. That's like in Kansas, when I love Kansas. When I would meet people there,
No one's doing anything.
they're all like,
No offense, Kansas.
we love Kansas.
We love Kansas,
But there's not a lot of options in Kansas.
all
It's
you
not
do is-
Kansan's fault.
You just drink.
Yeah, it's not the fault of the Kansan that they're like in a market that's slower
Yeah,
and is
like you have to make your own work.
yeah, like new ideas are kind of pushed back on.
Yeah,
A
because they're
little
like,
bit.
"Oh, why would you do that? Why would you want to make a movie?
Yeah,
How do you make money on that?"
like yeah, like and it's less of an understanding point of view, you know, as opposed to here, we raised our crew basically just on recommendations and like open applications because so many people around us
I
are
auditioned through
trying.
an Instagram DM.
Yeah, so many people around us are trying to do this thing that sort of stuff
Falls together.
yeah, it like can bring in the right crowd. Like we didn't post on
Actors Access or Casting Network.
yeah, like not like real. I don't know if I'd say real, but like more legitimate sourcing for actors and performers. We didn't ever access that. We just kind of did friends of friends and friends of friends of friends, And because the pot is so
Big. Yeah.
you'll always get a good bite.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's just like the stew of Los Angeles is meatier and richer and heartier for the soul, whereas in Kansas, you know, the stew is still there.
Yeah.
You're really fishing for the beef.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a fun metaphor.
And
the stew.
It's more viscous down there too. It's kind of a slower turn.
It's got a brine
Yeah.
to it. You're getting a lot. You're getting a lot of good, flavorful, salty sips.
Yeah.
But you're not really getting like the sustenance.
Yeah, and there are benefits to that. Like Kansas can have a different focus. It doesn't have to be movie town, which it's not. So that's good.
Yeah.
But this
not every city can be movie town.
This
not every
can
city
be movie
should
town.
be movie town.
Yeah.
But L.A., God, it's been movie town.
It's movie town.
Even when it is trying so hard not to be movie town, it is more movie town than ever.
Yeah.
Like I think back to like the actors' strike or the writers' strike, which was last year. So you went from 2021 into entertainment strike era.
Yeah. It was a great couple
and
of
now
years.
we're in like IATSE sign that damn contract era.
Yeah. Who knows what's next?
So, you know, everyone's saying survive till 25, but what were they saying in 23? 24 is just around the door? Are you kidding
probably.
me? Like, what's 2026 going to be? And I've known people that have been here for 5 years. I've known people that have been here for 1 year and left. So what would you say to the person that wants to move to Los Angeles?
Well, the person who wants to move to Los Angeles probably has a pretty good idea.
Oh, my goodness.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Of what they want to do. And if they are unsure, that is not a necessity to move here. But I will say you need to have a shorthand list of what you're looking to do. Because, man, wasted time is just so expensive up here. Like, if all of June passed, June and March.
And you did nothing?
Which were like the main days that I was prepping and shooting and then organizing my post stuff. Like, if those months were spent not creating something, they would have been like just costly months where I like didn't put down anything for the future, just kind of like made the ends meet and then moved on to the next month. That is like, that's the enemy, you know, especially when like you don't really have your place yet and you need to be actively searching it in order to like make it happen. Like us meeting is like adding on to that tree that we need to be cultivating at this time.
I mean, that's why I do the podcast. The podcast is a
this
cheat
is a great
code
way
to
to
keep
do
me
that.
busy.
Yeah.
And also to talk to people.
Yeah. And I think that just like the purpose of the podcast is to kind of keep you busy and keep you connecting. Like if you're going to move to Los Angeles, you need to have some sort of plan on how you'll start connecting. You don't need to have a job right away. I delivered TVs for Best Buy when I first moved here. That was my job. And then I started meeting enough people who could get me jobs. And then I went to set. And then from set, I met the people I wanted to bring on as crew. And then from that, we made the first feature. And it sounds like that was quick, but it took 2.5 years. And mainly because I wasted a few months just like getting used to the city.
I mean, the first 3 months of living in LA is vacation.
Yeah,
essentially,
and it should
you have
be.
to let that be that. Like, go explore, go to Malibu, go to the mountains, go see as much as possible. Try the burgers, try the tacos, try the expensive pasta dish, get the pizza. We're not known for our pizza, but I've had some good ass pizza in LA.
Yeah, it's kind
Really
of
good
that's kind of the
pizza.
thing right now. Like Smash Burgers, I guess, was the last big food wave, and right now
we're in a pizza wave.
It's pizza waving.
It's so good because I'm a pizza guy, and some
Yeah.
people are like, I'm going to New York for pizza. I'm like, we got New York pizza in LA.
Yeah, we got all the pizzas in LA.
Exactly.
You can find it all.
You can get deep dish, you can get Detroit style, you can get square cut. I'm not going to get on a pizza tangent, but God, I love pizza. It's like,
Or you can just get Little Caesars if you want.
the Little Caesars out here is better than the one in Midwest. Facts.
It's not bad. That's what we have on set a lot at some of the shows that I still work on, reality TV wise.
It's so cheap too. It's so good.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Shout out to Little Caesars, not sponsored, but one day it could be.
Yeah, that's true. It could be.
Now, Jack, this is one thing I want to say just for a quick social media bit, but we're just gonna keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is say, what very seriously to this question, and then we'll move past it. Sorry, guys. This is not getting edited out. Jack Schudy, mustache?
What?
Okay. I had a vision of that in my head last night. I was like, oh, that would be such a funny, like, 10-second clip that people would be like, what the fuck is this podcast?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is like, that's why I got the mustache. This is the Jack Schudy mustache, everybody.
What?
Yeah, it's so back. We're so back. Jack, what would you say to the person that wants to leave LA?
The person that wants to leave LA probably has made up their mind. I've talked to a few people as they've left LA. Like, I've made some friends who were already in the process, and they were, I think it took a lot of time to come to that decision, and by the time they did, there was no turning back. So I don't know if I can change any minds. I think that if you know that you need to leave LA, then you're probably right.
Yeah,
trust the gut. Maybe you'll come back, or maybe you found a creative market that you can flourish in that's not here.
Or maybe you found a job that makes you feel safe and secure, and there's literally no shade in that.
I mean, we're talking about how we're wasting months if we're not making something because it's so expensive.
Yeah. Like, if you got to go make money and start a family, by all means do that, because that sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
Sounds awesome.
Props to you for having the guts to say that this isn't for me right now.
Yeah.
I think that I never wanted to move back. I haven't ever wanted to move back since I came here. But like the first...
Do you see yourself moving back?
I
don't want to interrupt. I feel like you're about to say something good.
I could throw this in too, though, because they're kind of connected. My dream would be to write TV from anywhere I want,
Same,
and I love LA, but like I'd love to write from like Boulder or something, just because I'm a Colorado head. But I love Kansas, and I wouldn't hate to move back there eventually and like start a family there.
The people are real good.
Yeah, the people are real good, and like, I don't know, there's just a vibe about it that I always find nice. But besides that, like, just LA, just living here, I don't think I would be upset. Like, I don't think there's anything pulling me out of here that like I would be mad never like got the better of me, I'd be fine. And there's so many different areas of LA to live that like if you want something new, you can get it without leaving the city. Like you can just go to a different, I don't know what you would call neighborhoods.
LA is just a city of cities.
Yeah, and already the 3 spots I've lived in have been so wildly different from each other.
This area is nice. You're like practically in the Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it's been a fun.
The camera
move so
can't
far.
really show it because we got this all wooded out backdrop, keys hanging on the screw kind of vibe. But like what Jack and I are seeing behind the camera is nice.
It's a little bit prettier than the other side.
Pretty.
Yeah,
it's just really hot over there, so we had to move it over here.
Yeah.
Jack, I'm thinking we'll do one more segment, and then we'll lead into the final questions, and then that's the show.
That's the show.
This segment is going to be called Word of Affirmation.
Oh.
Compliment the listener, make them feel bubbly and good.
Oh, okay.
In your own way, and then I'll do that, and we'll do like 3 of them, so 6 in total.
Sure. I love you.
Your mustache looks nice.
It looks nice, but it could look better.
Affirm them.
And it will look better.
Yeah, there it is. Sometimes when I see you feeling down, you make me want to clown around and say, hey, it'll be okay.
That was good.
I'm going to really zoom into my face when I do that one.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You should. You know what you're doing, and you will do it right.
This is one of my favorites. I feel like we should say this to everybody all the time. You are enough.
When you messed up last weekend, it was not great. But now you have a chance to make things better than they ever were.
Remember that there is no reason to avoid failure. Failure helps you learn, and when you learn, you become a better person. So when the next time you fail sits on you, just know that it's unavoidable. It's going to be all right, and you will figure it out. Keep going. You want to do one more, and then that's it for the segment? Cool.
Yeah, sure.
I'll let you close it out.
Keep trying to make today special. I think that's a really nice quality of yours.
And that was Words of Affirmation, brought to you by Jack Schudy's mustache.
What?
Jack, if you could have the chance to ask a word of advice from your 80-year-old self without ruining the timeline, what would you ask? You can ask anything.
I think if I'm trying to just not ruin the timeline, I'd probably just ask, like, what ends up being our favorite song ever?
Let's say you ask, and even if that it feels like it's going to ruin the timeline, it won't.
Okay, and I know that going in?
Like, you're safe. You can ask anything, and he will give you honest answer, fully, truthfully.
Well, okay, I wouldn't want to know anything about how the career goes, if there is one. I wouldn't want to know...
There will be, by the way.
I wouldn't want to know
don't sweat it.
anything about my personal relationships, because then they won't be as surprising and fun. Maybe the biggest thing I'd want to know specifically from an older Jack would just be like, what was the moment that you always thought back on that I've already experienced? I think, like, if I could somehow get this 80-year-old fart to think back to, like, being 25 and only count the years before that somehow and be accurate enough to tell me what moment from the life I've already lived ends up being one of his favorite recollections, I think that would be very telling in how the rest of the life goes without spoiling it. You know?
So I guess my question to you now is, what do you think he'd say?
Maybe, man, I think if he said this, it would be the most, like, hopeful to me, and, like, the best sign of things to come is if his response was something along the lines of wrapping that first feature. You know, that bodes really well.
Anything else you want him to say?
If I ever have an attempted poisoning, he should warn me about that so I can just not drink it this time. That one he can spoil.
Don't drink that coffee.
It's too late, Jack.
Jack Schudy, what would you say to the person that is struggling right now?
They're just struggling with everything?
Yeah.
They're just having it tough.
Life is shit for them.
Yeah, life can be shit a lot. Life can be shit for most people for most of the time. I think that as cheesy as it sounds and as, like, counterintuitive as it seems, like, you really just need to have something that you're like watching yourself for, something that you're like, it's basically like queued up for you, like a thing to look forward to, a thing to devote your spare lazy time and wandering mind to, whether that be writing something, painting something, going for a trip, meeting with a friend. It can be, like, really small or, like, life-changing. I just think that a direction is super important, and I try to always have some sort of direction, just like some place that I'm heading, whether, like, physically or mentally, some place that I know I can qualify as, like, a next step towards something else, like just one little moment of I don't know if I'd say drive, but like one little moment of, or one little element of expectation for this next thing, that can just like take your mind on such a different path than the one that you're on. And it like initially when you start to do something like this, if you're really in the dumps and you're really like having trouble doing any of the things that you usually like to do or seeing the people that you like to see, if all of that is difficult for you right now, this can seem like the most pointless and menial task. But I think it's in its meniality that it finds purpose, because it is so easy to do and so small. Like you can apply it to any state of your life. Like today, my next thing is just going to watch the Euro Cup final. And like after that, I get to think of something new I get to do. Even if that's not tonight, even if that's not in a week, there's just something else coming. And it just like puts your brain in the mode it needs to be in to welcome new things, which I think is like how you get out of those ruts, is by welcoming something new. It just puts you in a place to think. It puts you in a place to think, to have some sort of small goal.
Every day is a brand new day. Even if it doesn't feel like it, it will be brand new. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Jack Schudy, the final question now, if you need me to elaborate on what it means, because it's kind of... Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. I think that'd be good. Why not?
Jack, would you care to share a word before we leave?
Of course, yeah. I think I would. Basically, the last thing that I feel I would like to say is, it's kind of trite and it's kind of maybe overused, but I think that really letting yourself fall into it is pretty important. And it's just this message of trust the process. The process is not the same for everybody. And there are a lot of things that came really easy to me, and I'm really grateful for them. And there's a lot of things that were hard as shit to figure out, especially in making a feature, but not exclusively. I think that people get so wrapped up in results that the process becomes the work that they're trying to avoid, when it needs to be like, it is the reward. Like being able to have a process is the reward in itself. And maybe something happens afterwards that's like a bonus, but like the journey is the most important part. And when you look back, the journey is like the part that you always have trouble remembering, you know, and then you get the result and you get these moments, but it's like being in the moment and recognizing when you're in a journey or in a point of change and trusting that process. It's just so much more fun when you do, you know. It's so stressful to just be thinking about how things are going to go and not letting your hands like come off the wheel for a few days even, and just seeing how things are happening around you, looking back at how far things have come even since like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in a different apartment 10 days ago. And I'm not saying that like there's been a move for the better in moving, but there has been a change, and like that is an opportunity for things to get better, even just in that. And like, I don't know. I didn't know if this area was going to kick my ass or not. Maybe it still will, but like trusting the process has been like the only way to keep sane through so much of what we do. And I think it's just applicable to every aspect of life. So I would just say to trust the process.
Jack Schudy, trust the process. This has been Brett Gaffney and Jack Schudy, and I'm going to say a few words of thanks, and that's the episode. Yeah. Thank you to everyone that's been involved with Season 2 of A Word Before We Leave. We now have video, so I want to say thank you to those on YouTube watching the video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that like button. And beyond the internet of it all, we really do live in a beautiful, beautiful world that is full of humanity, hope, and struggle. And there's no way to fully capture the essence of this world without us being able to talk in person. So while these conversations do matter for you to watch and listen, it's also important to have these conversations with the people that you love. Change happens first with yourself, and then the world will follow after. This has been amazing. Jack, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And now all I have to do is close a door, and that's the episode. But before that, maybe you too can go watch a new movie today. I'm going to close that door.
Cool. You should.
And that's the episode.
Great. Is that